Hi, I'm Jasmine Robertson, Assistant Curator at the Colorado Railroad Museum. Today, for our latest edition of Small Wonders, I'm going to talk about Harvey Houses, the Harvey Girls, and their legacy of settlement in the American West. Before we talk about the Harvey Girls, it's important to understand Fred Harvey, founder of the Harvey Houses. Harvey, who emigrated to the United States from England in 1850, was interested in the restaurant business, working in various establishments in New York and New Orleans before opening his own restaurant in St. Louis. After his first restaurant was no longer lucrative, Harvey went west for more opportunity. There, he found work with various railroads, beginning with the Hannibal and St. Joseph in 1862, which was later absorbed by the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad. Harvey found himself traveling by rail quite frequently for his job, and while he traveled, he noticed that conditions left a lot to be desired, the most pressing of which was food. There was no food on the trains, which meant passengers had to either bring their own food or try to find something to eat during one of their 20-minute stops. The problem with bringing food was the long day of travel, and the lack of refrigeration meant that the food often went bad before it could be consumed. The problem with finding something to eat during their stops meant that not only did passengers not have enough time to eat the food they were served, but also the food was frequently of bad quality. Meals at these frontier towns often consisted of canned beans, rancid bacon, and fried, greasy meats. Not only was the food bad, but fresh coffee was almost never an option. It was often only brewed about once a week. Harvey, who found success running 2 cafes on the Kansas Pacific Railroad as a side gig, came up with a system of restaurants that would be connected by the railroad. Unable to convince the Burlington Railroad of the need, he was told to go to the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe to propose his idea, where it was met with success. Thus, the Harvey Houses were born. The first Harvey House was opened in 1876 in Topeka, Kansas. Over the course of time, there were over 155 Harvey establishments in operation, consisting of restaurants, hotels, and newsstands. Colorado itself had 10 Harvey Houses, one which predated Harvey's tenure with the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad in Hugo. Another of Colorado's Harvey hotels, the Cardenas, opened in Trinidad in 1903. The museum's collection features a postcard of that location. The standards Fred Harvey demanded of his Harvey Houses were extensive. The entire dining experience was carefully curated to ensure customer satisfaction. The AT&SF Railroad made enough of a profit through its ticket sales to subsidize Harvey restaurants, which was crucial as Harvey Houses actually operated at a loss. High-quality food was brought by rail to the various restaurants along the line, along with high-quality water to some of the Harvey Houses to make sure that the coffee would taste the same in all their restaurants. Additionally, the restaurants along each route would coordinate what they were serving so passengers would not eat the same meal at each stop. Fred Harvey did not take anyone's word regarding whether his standards were being met. Instead, he visited his restaurants unannounced to make sure of it. One individual present for these inspections noted that they reminded me of the Army. The superintendent didn't just glance in the kitchen, greet the chef, and inquire after his health. He looked the place over as if he suspected a murder had been committed, and the search was for clues. If you found a pitcher of orange juice in the refrigerator, you would think they were about to serve the guests arsenic. Orange juice was to be squeezed out as needed so it would be fresh. Storing it in the refrigerator for use later was an intolerable attempt to get out of a little work. Here at the Colorado Railroad Museum, we have many menus from the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe in our collection. They demonstrate the variety and quality of food that Fred Harvey offered to the railway's passengers. Not only do the recipes showcase the quality and standards of food the Harvey Houses exemplified, they also show careful attention to detail and culture, as the menus often feature Southwestern artwork and information about the Harvey House locations. The menus also featured information on specific locations such as the Grand Canyon and other premier areas where Harvey Houses were located. The goal was to appeal to travelers not only through the food, but the entire experience of these Harvey establishments. When Harvey Houses were first opened, they were staffed by men. It wasn't until 1883 that the first women were hired as servers in Raton, New Mexico, after all the men were fired due to a drunken knife brawl. Women became so popular as servers that Harvey soon replaced all the servers in his Harvey Houses with Harvey Girls. To find young women to work for the Harvey Houses, Fred Harvey put ads in Eastern newspapers that said, "Wanted, young women, 18 to 30 years of age, of good moral character, attractive and intelligent, as waitresses in Harvey eating houses on the Santa Fe Railroad in the West. Wages $17.50 per month with room and board. Liberal tips customary, experience not necessary." When the women were hired, they underwent extensive training for their roles as Harvey Girls. They signed 6-month, 9-month, and 12-month contracts for their work. They went through a period of unpaid training in Kansas, though they were fed and housed during that period. Harvey Girls were not allowed to marry during their contracts, or else they would lose their pay and their passes for the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe line. For the actual work itself, the women were expected to maintain the high standards Fred Harvey and his Harvey Houses were known for. Everything they did was regulated, down to their uniforms and their living situations. Opal Sells, who worked as a Harvey Girl from when she was 24 until she retired at 69, noted, "No nail polish, no gum, skirts a certain length from the floor, and then the rules in the dormitory. People said it was degrading to work in a restaurant. Not so in Fred Harvey's." Some of the dormitory rules consisted of the women being overseen by a matron and included a strict curfew at night, after which the doors would be locked. Despite these strict rules governing their lives, many young women relished the opportunity for freedom that being a Harvey Girl provided. Firstly, being a Harvey Girl provided young women financial stability in a way that was seen as respectable, something that was not all that common in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. In addition to financial independence, being a Harvey Girl provided many women the opportunity for travel and life experience they would not have had if they had not joined. Gladys Porter, who became a Harvey Girl at 15 despite being underage, said, "I didn't have any social skills, and working as a Harvey Girl taught me how to be hospitable and caring. I also learned how to function in an elegant atmosphere I would never have been exposed to otherwise." Though women were technically not allowed to marry during their contracts, they frequently did. In fact, for some, being a Harvey Girl gave them the chance to find a husband outside of the normal scope of their lives. Violet Bassetti, who was a Harvey Girl in New Mexico, said, "On my first day of work at the Alvarado, the manager said to me, 'We'll guarantee you a good railroad man for a husband.'" Many of the girls married railroaders. You learned that brakemen were a dime a dozen, engineers were good, but men in the communications department, like telegraphers, were very good. Bernice Black McLean left home at 19 to work as a Harvey Girl. She worked in Kingman, the Grand Canyon, and Winslow, Arizona during her 13 years of service. She stated that working as a Harvey Girl was a great situation for me as a young woman. I liked traveling, and I liked the freedom to be on my own. It wasn't like being stranded out on the desert. Everything was cared for, and a woman could save money. Harvey encouraged young girls to leave home. I would never have gone so far otherwise. When McLean was 32 years old, she married. That was pretty old to be getting married in those days, she noted. Though being Harvey Girls afforded many young women the opportunity to travel and gain financial independence, it proved to be an exclusive opportunity. White women were primarily hired as Harvey Girls, even in areas with large Indigenous and Hispanic populations. Fred Harvey establishments were the first chain restaurants in the United States. As such, the museum has a variety of Fred Harvey-themed objects in our collection. Some of these include various food wrappers, postcards, and stationery. The museum even has a letter from 1938 from a Fred Harvey manager in Missouri discussing travel plans with his mother. Some of the best preserved and detailed objects in the collection are the Fred Harvey chinaware. These include silverware, a syrup pitcher, a collapsible tin cup, a creamer pitcher, a teacup and saucer, and a platter. A couple of the other pieces in the collection are Fred Harvey coffee cups. The coffee cup was not just a vessel to drink coffee out of, but was one of the ways a Harvey Girl communicated to the kitchen staff. A cup turned facing up meant that the guest wanted coffee, while it being turned down meant tea. If the cup was turned upside down and tilted, that meant iced tea, and upside down and facing away from the saucer meant the guest wanted milk. Thousands of women went west to work as Harvey Girls from the 1880s to the 1940s. Many of them stayed where they were sent, marrying either railroad men or locals and settling in the area. Fred Harvey has been credited for settling the West by providing employment for respectable young women in remote western towns. In 1946, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer released the Harvey Girls musical starring Judy Garland, based on the book by Samuel Hopkins Adams. In the museum's collection, we have sheet music from this musical.
Where I come from, I've done a lot of dreaming and I've traveled some, but I never thought I'd see the day when I ever took a ride on the Santa Fe.
Wanna take a ride on the Santa Fe.
The movie brought a lot of attention to the profession, though, like many movies, its glorified depiction of Garland as a Harvey girl wasn't the most accurate portrayal of the realities Harvey girls faced. The musical, with its romantic songs such as On the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe, continued popular culture's trend of romanticizing both the Harvey girls and the American West as a whole. While these popularized depictions of Harvey girls were being produced, the profession itself was changing drastically. World War II changed the nature of the Harvey Houses forever. Instead of catering to the passengers or the public, the restaurants became focused on serving troops. This is reflected even in the menus in our collection, with their covers featuring insignia and plane identifications for different branches of the military. The quality and standards that had been the keystone of Harvey Houses declined. Interestingly, when the rigid structures that were in place broke down, it did allow more diversity of Harvey girls, as some Hispanic and Indigenous women were finally hired. The decline of rail travel and the rise of the automobile and air travel signaled an end to the Harvey House era, a familiar trend in railroad history. Harvey girls were no longer needed as servers in these establishments, but their legacy continues. Descendants of the Harvey girls look back fondly on their ancestors' contributions to westward expansion. Lenore Dills, who lived and worked in San Marshall, New Mexico as a stenographer beginning in 1919, became enmeshed in the railroad community there. She noted, "Many children and grandchildren of former Harvey girls boast about their mother or grandmother being a true pioneer and coming west with the Harvey Houses. It carries a great deal more prestige than coming west in a covered wagon. Anybody could ride in a covered wagon, but only a lady could become a Harvey girl." Thank you for joining us today for our brief history of the Harvey girls and our feature on some of the Fred Harvey artifacts in the museum's collection. We'll see you next time.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Commenting and sharing in particular may qualify as virtual engagements for important funding programs like the SCFD.